December 1986 that Rights and Humanity was born. And it was, from the beginning, a unique hybrid organization, bridging a concern for both human rights and development. And for 2 decades, this organization has had a major impact on global policy and practice.
They have been pioneers in bringing together people of many faiths, cultures, and walks of life in a common commitment to prevent and relieve human suffering.
Their unique approach of contextualizing human rights locally while upholding a set of global principles has meant that their voice is respected everywhere.
One of Rights and Humanity's first priorities was to ensure respect for human rights in the context of the HIV/AIDS pandemic.
Never shy to take on difficult issues, Rights and Humanity was one of the first organizations to champion respect for human rights in the context of HIV/AIDS and to insist that compassion and respect should form the bedrock of our response to this tragic pandemic.
We led the way in formulating policy on AIDS and human rights at the UN. As a result, the protection of human rights became a core principle of global policy on AIDS. Following the success of our AIDS programme, Rights and Humanity took its human rights approach into the broader health agenda and acted as advisor to the World Health Organization.
I called a friend of mine in WHO who has been there for some time, and I said, "Oh, I have good news. Rights and Humanity has agreed to help us with drafting the guidelines." Boy, are you fortunate. Those are the people who understand about human rights and development, and they can put those 2 pieces together. You've got the best partners WHO could have.
Rights and Humanity brought all its experience to bear on pioneering a new way of doing development work, as our patron Cherie Booth recalls.
Over the last 19 years, Rights and Humanity has pioneered and refined a human rights approach to development as a strategy to overcome poverty, violence against women, and women's particular vulnerability to HIV/AIDS.
And overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It's the protection of a fundamental human right.
Education and professional training in human rights and responsibilities have always formed an important part of Rights and Humanity's work. This programme got off to a fantastic start when we were invited to join a group of European universities using satellite for global distance learning. We made a series of 50-minute programmes about pressing humanitarian issues, combining film and studio discussion. Our patron, His Royal Highness Prince Hassan bin Tahal, and other leaders and experts were much involved. Rights and Humanity took its education into universities, schools and professional associations across the world. We focused on Africa, Europe and the Middle East. When the Berlin Wall came down in 1989, we took this opportunity to establish a human rights centre at the Jagiellonian University in Krakow, and we trained academic and administrative staff in human rights work. Another critical area of Rights and Humanity's work is building bridges of understanding.
And if we are ever to realize a dream of global peace and justice, we must undertake, as Rights and Humanity have, to engage in dialogue, to respect difference, and to promote understanding.
For I believe that informal meetings like this can build more lasting bridges than any number of official functions.
The idea of getting women's advocates from all over the world together to discuss their experiences and the strategies that they have adopted in their own countries to achieve the equality and equal treatment of women in their own experiences is very useful for women advocates in other parts of the world.
A recent example of our bridge building was in November 2006, when we took Archbishop Desmond Tutu to Tahrir in the Middle East, where the message of rights and humanity was well received.
I come here as a friend, a brother in God, and as a patron of rights and humanity, and an international organization which over the last 20 years has become a global leader in empowering people to realize their full potential. And I want to pay a very warm tribute to this NGO and to its outstanding leader, Julia Hasselman.
Over 2 years, Rights and Humanity worked with our patrons and representatives of different faith and professional groups to identify values common to all humankind. In 2003, we adopted the Rights and Humanity Principles of Responsibility, signed by all our patrons.
Someone else's rights are my responsibility. And that's why 3 years ago I joined Julia and other leaders to sign the Declaration of Responsibilities that Rights and Humanity drew up.
One of Rights and Humanity's significant early achievements was to contribute our expertise on economic and social rights to the drafting of the South African Constitution.
Ms. Haldeman provided extensive briefings to technical committees as they were busy drafting the Constitution of our country. So please, let's give her a round of applause for her.
We played a critical role in achieving progress at the Beijing Women's Conference. We secured consensus on the right of adolescent girls to have access to health information and services. At the same time as advising the UN and governments, Rights and Humanity developed models for community education and empowerment.
Rights and Humanity's work in Jordan centered on finding ways to bring human rights to life in people's everyday experiences. The human rights approach to development pioneered by Rights and Humanity subsequently not only became a valuable framework directing international development efforts, but in Jordan is still helping us to achieve some promising outcomes today.
And of course, Rights and Humanity has played its part in the UK too, not least through adoption by the Labour government in 1997 of the human rights approach to development, pioneered by Rights and Humanity. This in turn has helped influence the approach of UN agencies, governments and development groups globally. A decade on, we can see around the world the practical benefits of this approach. Girls empowered to protect themselves from the risk of HIV. Slum dwellers granted connections to clean water. Maternal mortality reduced through better access to healthcare.
It is therefore my hope that this vital Congress, your support and Rights and Humanity's determination to turn the financial crisis into an opportunity for reform, to create an equitable and sustainable future for all, will soon bear fruit.
A G20 meeting has to reflect this much broader sense of the global crisis that forgets about, if you like, the real sufferers in this crisis, which as always are the world's poor.
And I also know that I will hear about the results of this conference, not just from Julia, but because the ideas that come through today, the practical ideas, will have a resonance and they will make a difference. And we will feed that in to what goes on in the G20, and we will do our governors to make sure that we don't only feed them in, but that they are paid attention to.
For me, the main legacy of this Congress is this wonderful production of spiritual goods, which will multiply indefinitely as we continue to share them. I end as I began, with a blessing. And may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you really can make a difference in the world, so that you can do what others claim cannot be done, to bring justice and kindness to all our children and the poor.